Watch him throw the ball, we gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through 4th and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders, heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Dive.
Yes, sir. Welcome back to another episode of Trap or Dive, Washington Commanders Morning Show. I'm your host of Trap or Dive Podcast, Mual, man. What's up? Good morning. Happy Friday to everybody. Out too, Jay Tizzy, I see you. Everybody checking in that's live. Shout out to you all if you are watching live or if you're catching up a little behind off the replay. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Definitely appreciate y'all checking in. Man, we made it to the weekend. Another good Thursday night football game. That man Dan Campbell. Now out too, I think it was relatively, because I think y'all are like 6 hours. Y'all are like 6 hours ahead of us, if I'm not mistaken. So it was probably like off the E for you. Probably like 5 a.m. Or 8 o'clock. So like 3 a.m. the game was on. 2 or 3 a.m. for y'all. And that's probably kind of rough. But the Detroit Lions pulled off their 10th straight win. Does a favor for Washington. He saw the fourth quarter. Does a favor for Washington, beating the Green Bay Packers. I think one of the things that we talked about in our last show was actually playoff position and what Washington needs, right? What's up, Tim? Mike, what's up? Good morning. Washington needed the Green Bay Packers to lose a couple games, right? But you know what's crazy? I mean, it's not going to hurt or impact Washington. I shouldn't say hurt. It's not going to impact Washington at all in the first round. But Green Bay, them boys tough. I like them. I mean, it's hard. I've always had I wasn't like a super fan of Green Bay, but I always had like respect for them. Like I always knew they was gonna be good, and it's kind of crazy because it don't matter which coach comes in or which quarterback they got. or how bad their defense is in years past, them boys is always going to have talent. I say that to say I wouldn't be surprised if they make it out the first round anyway. Depending on who they play in that first round. If they end up slipping to the 7th seed, they'll have Philly or they may have Detroit again. I don't think they may lose to Detroit three times this season. I think Detroit that good. I think they just that good. And it's crazy because the way they was pressuring the Lions, pressuring Jordan Love last night, Jordan was able to make some plays. Like late in the game, he had this throw to Christian Watson for like 20-something yards where the offensive tackle and the running back wasn't able to pick up that edge pressure. And he slipped up into the pocket. I'm thinking strip sack. Like that's how close it was. But he stepped up in the pocket and he was able to make this throw like with like an inch to spare from being strip sacked from the edge defender and threw a ball on a dot to Christian Watson, but hit his face mask. And he was able to get like 20-some yards out of it. I thought that was quite impressive. They lose. And I think for Washington, they're now a game back from the 6th seed. I'm about to double check. I don't think it's a game and a half. I just think it's a game. I thought I had. Okay, I'll worry about that later. But yeah, I think they're a game back. So I think Washington has everything that they want in front of them. The bottom line, when you think about the Commander side, is you just got to go at least 3-1. Okay, so I'm not tripping. Just got to go at least 3-1. Right? Can't lose to New Orleans. Can't lose to Atlanta. Can't lose to Dallas. Right? Can't lose to them. Those people you can't lose to. So Washington's also to the right start in their bye week. I think they need Atlanta to lose. Honestly, I mean Atlanta and Tampa is fighting for the division, so it don't matter which one of them wins or loses. I think that's kind of a secondary point, but yeah, because I think Atlanta's in first place. So I would prefer. I'm thinking like the Vikings are 10-2, so I don't think you're going to catch up to the 5th seed. It's really just 7-6, or a division winner, and hoping that Philly falls flat, which I don't think they'll do. That's a long shot. You're asking for a miracle there. Okay. On the show today, let's talk position grades. Here it goes again. Let's talk position grades. We got a bye week. There's a lot of things that you can kind of discuss and shoot the shit with. But there is a bye week. The Commanders have put in 13 weeks where we've been able to see nonstop the development of some groups or lack thereof for some other groups. He says he feels like Altu says he feels like Detroit might have peaked too early. Oh, that's bold, man. I do think one thing though. I think their path to the Super Bowl is going to come down to a Dan Quinn's decision to go for it on 4th down in some capacity, to be ultra aggressive. Yesterday or last night, he was getting killed for it when they didn't get it. I didn't feel no type of way. I mean, it's not the team that I root for, but I didn't think he was an idiot. I did think he was tripping on that last one where he decided to go for the 1st down and run the clock out as opposed to kicking a field goal. I thought you just take the points because you just never know. And look, bro, Jared Goff tripped. He got his foot stepped on. He fell back. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like in a split second, I'm like, disaster. Oh, they got it. Like literally in a split second, I'm sitting here thinking just how crazy of a split second or a second sequence that was to see that Jared Goff was able to hand the ball off, do just enough to hand the ball off to David Montgomery, and David takes care of the rest. That was pretty impressive. But I'm not too mad at Dan Campbell being Dan Campbell. I do think because like I feel like the minute somebody tries to get into his head and be like, "Hey yo," and try to change his mind, be like, "Yo, I think we ought to do X Y Z." Is the minute that he stops being himself. The only difference between how we feel, we the public, because I wasn't really too mad at him for the first time he did it, or like the first couple times he went for it. The only difference in terms of how we feel versus who Dan Quinn is or Dan Campbell, excuse me, is that it was prime time. Like any other game where the national spotlight isn't on the Detroit Lions, he's probably doing the same thing. It is what it is, bro. I'm not too mad at it. Jordan Love is a gunslinger for sure. And we have a tiebreaker over Green Bay. What's our tiebreaker? Is it NFC wins? Yeah, what's our tiebreaker? I'm looking at the standings now, so I can try to find it. Of course, Pro Football Reference doesn't really break it down the way I need them to, so I ought to go to ESPN. Hey, what's the tiebreaker though? Tim Swindle. I think the Packers can beat the Eagles. If the Packers fall to the 7th seed, I'm tripping. The Packers can fall to the 7th seed. I kind of want the Vikings to get the 1 seed and the Lions to get the 5 seed, and they potentially play Tampa. You need to, Tim, put it this way. We're Commanders fans, so this is kind of easy for us to process. I hope the Packers has what it takes to beat the Eagles. But put it this way. We seen what Philadelphia did to our offensive line. That interior offensive line when they first matched up. Now, I don't think, that's going to happen every single time that they play, right? But from a physically imposing standpoint, the Eagles had their way against Washington. Even with Washington having the lead a couple times throughout that game. Right? But you saw the difference in the trenches on both sides of the ball in the bigger moments of the game. I say that to say to him, if the Packers offensive line looks anything like that against Philadelphia, God bless. Oh man. So I also don't think so. I think the Vikings, if the Vikings gets anything, it'll be the 2 seed, I believe. They're both 10-2, but I think that's a good one. Because Minnesota's about to go down a gauntlet though, and I think they can. Like their gauntlet is just as tough as Detroit's, right? And they still got to actually play each other. They got to play one more time. But the Vikings, and we talked about this a little bit on the last show, but the Vikings have Green Bay, Detroit, Seattle. Those are the last 3 games of the season. Seattle in order: at Seattle, home versus Green Bay, at Detroit. And the way that Philadelphia is moving, it's going to look like Detroit is playing their starters week 18 so they can secure that number 1 seed and home field throughout. That's what it's going to look like. Hey, bro, if Detroit ends up making it to the Super Bowl, bro, with home field advantage, like that in itself is, I think that should be an eye opener for Washington fans from this standpoint. One, appreciate everybody else checking in. Hawk, what's up, man? I was looking for you the other day. One, things didn't start off too good in his first season, right? But again, like contextually speaking, like he was taking over a bad team. We understand that. But over the years, under Dan Campbell, they got better each season. They developed their identity. They got better in the trenches. They found their skill position guys. This year they got a cornerback, right? They had struggles in the secondary. They picked up good man from Tampa Bay. Man coverage corner. I'm looking for his name right now so I can bring him up right quick. Carlton Davis. They picked up Carlton. They lose Aiden Hutchinson, but they picked up Za'Darius Smith, 32-year-old. He ready for that Super Bowl run. But here's the thing. Over years, and my point, progressing from a talent standpoint and a depth standpoint, they become ready for this moment. Washington, you're not in the same position as Detroit was when they first started with Dan, right? I think actually, the first year with Dan, he went 3-13-1, right? But then he had a 6-game turnaround the next year, went 9-8. Not when they knocked Green Bay out the playoffs, that ought to have been. Excuse me. Let's rephrase that. They did knock Green Bay out of the playoffs, but Green Bay needed a winning in, and Detroit went on the road, dominated, won the game. Said Green Bay ain't making it out. And this year, I think they sweep Green Bay, bro. Point being, that 6-game turnaround to a 12-win season, and the next year you get a 6-game improvement from your first to your second, a 3-game improvement from your second to your third, and it looks like they about to get another incremental improvement in Dan Campbell's 4th season. They're 11-1. They were 12-5 last year. They'll win at least 2 more games. For Washington to be in a position where you can look at where they are in year 1 and say you have some pieces in place already that you're identifying that's popping out, right? Who are they? Terry McLaurin, Jaden Daniels, Brian Robinson, Sam Cosby, Brandon Coleman. You're working on these. Like, those are some people that you can work with, right? Tyler Biadasz, I'm sorry. You signed him to a multi-year deal. You got some pieces that you can work with. You got some placeholders in other areas. But you got some people that you can work with and you can build on. Defensively, who you got? Frankie Louisville, multi-year deal. He's staying for a little bit. Marshawn Lattimore, big move. Hasn't played yet, but he's here for a multi-year deal. I mean, on a multi-year deal. Quan Martin. I would say Bobby Wagner, but I don't know what his future is going to look like. Right, and he's on a 1-year deal, by the way. But I'm sure he would entertain coming back. Anyway, I'm not including Bobby Wagner in this. Who else? Johnny Newton, to some extent. Still think I still think he's working his way up. Mike Sainristil. How'd I forget him? I would say Jeremy Chin, but they need to sign him to an extension first before I include him. But where am I getting at? Think about the pieces that you can work with early on as you continue to rebuild and retool or recalibrate, as they like to say. For a Detroit Lions team who was in the abyss their entire organization, where Washington fans who've seen success only had to endure 30 years, and I say only in comparison to 30 is a long time. I've never seen sustained success, but I'm saying only in comparison to, right? But when you see something like that in Detroit and know that it is capable to turn things around and have sustained success and be a dominant team in the NFC, like change what they call it, the turning of the guards or the change of the guards or whatever it is, like that shift is very much possible, and that shift can very much have the Washington Commanders as a forefront force in the NFC. Now, granted, it's not going to be easy because the Eagles ain't going anywhere, and it may not take a long time. It may not take a long time for the Cowboys to turn things around. The New York Giants, I don't really see the light yet. But if you're in the mix, you got a shot. And that's where I'm getting at. Washington, if everything from a structure standpoint remains intact, they will have a shot. And I think that's what a lot of us want. And there's a blueprint out there through a few teams, but more importantly, the Detroit Lions, right? Who has shown over multiple years to this point under Dan Campbell in their new regime that they know what it takes to win, and they've established that. I think our guys were tired and beat up. I'm very intrigued to see how the rematch goes after we rested and healed up. They played the Eagles well in Brazil despite slipping and sliding and Love getting hurt. The Vikings can only get the 5th seed. They don't win the division. 1-4 is the division winners. Oh yeah, so I think I was saying if anything they'll get the 2 seed given that if they end up winning the division, the Eagles I think gets the 1 seed over the Vikings. I think that's how that'll end up working out. It's our division records and conference records. They're 1-3. Ooh, they're 1-3 in the division. I didn't know that. Yeah, I'm looking at Pro Football Reference, and they didn't have like the tiebreaker scenarios. I know ESPN got it, but they didn't have it on Pro Football Reference. They are 4-4 in the conference, and we're 5-3. All right, we good. We locked in now, Jay Tizzy. Benz, what's up, player? What's up? Dan Campbell going to force the rest of the NFC to get bigger in the front 7. That's true. They ought to be doing it now. Even Steven, good morning. Good morning to everybody that's checking in live. Do you think Coleman will be the answer to the tackle position we've been needing, or will we add by draft free agency? I don't think they'll stop adding at tackle. Now, I don't want to treat that like the quarterback situation. Like, when I say quarterback situation, I'm saying the thought of, like, you always want to look for your quarterback until you know that you've got it. I don't think Washington is going to be drafting a quarterback anytime soon. In terms of, like, high round picks, they may look for a backup because who knows what Marcus Mariota's future is going to look like in Washington moving forward. So I'm sure they'll be looking for quarterbacks, but they're not going to be looking for their starter. They're going to be looking for somebody who can truly back up good Lord, Jaden Daniels. Brandon Coleman, I think he's developing well. I think one of the best ways, and I said I had a whole bunch of clips. I do have a whole bunch of clips. I don't want to I would really need to dedicate some time for Brandon and like get a structure going for the film session for his previous weeks. I did a film breakdown against how he played against Brian Burns. But I think that he's good. Al Gaudy, right after the game was ending, I think he was just on a natural high after whooping the Titans' ass, saying that Brandon Coleman was a great left tackle. He's not great. He's nowhere close to great. And great would indicate you have to be good in run blocking and pass blocking. All right. I think Brandon Coleman is a pretty good run blocker. He's physical. He has a physically imposing presence. Right. There's also some things he needs to work on without getting into the technical side of it. But there's some things he needs to work on. But also in the passing game, I think there's some things that he needs to work on as well. He just needs to find a toolbox. But he's growing. And he's showing signs of finding a toolbox as a pass protector. And that's good. I don't know if he'll be the answer. But I do know if they go for a tackle in the offseason, it will be for depth. And if it's not for depth, they'll be looking to find out answers or find an answer at right tackle. Andrew Wiley is solid in this system because they use his athletic strengths to the best fit for the best fit of this offense, which is why he has looked good when he started, and there has not been complaints about him as a tackle in like years past. Like years past, they say, hey, man, just drop back and pass protect. They get Andrew Wiley on the move in this offense. They also give him help. Same way they give Brandon Coleman help. Nothing wrong with that. But that's why he works for this offense. I think eventually Cliff Kingsbury and company, because this is all the scheme, they recognize that their offensive line needs help. And the way that they're able to get into route combinations and scheme up a defense while having two players tight to the offensive tackles on most passing plays, like that in itself is impressive. So what am I saying here? I think if Brandon Coleman, first off, I'm sorry, Brandon Coleman is coming back and they will give him an opportunity to start year 2 as a left tackle. They will bring in another tackle. But the question is he going to be depth or is he going to be playing at right tackle for Andrew Wiley or in front of Andrew Wiley? And that is to be determined. But Coleman has earned himself another year. He just has to keep going forward and progressing. Tim, I think we need to add another offensive lineman anyway. Wiley is not the long-term solution. And you hope that Brandon Coleman is a 10-year guy. I really think they'll lose to Seattle next week. Kenneth Walker will run all over them. I think Coleman moves over to right guard. You mean right tackle? Oh, left guard. I see. Left guard. I mean, honestly, maybe. I don't know. Like, my thing is they signed Nick Allegretti to a 3-year deal. And maybe this is his trial year. But my thing is when you sign somebody to a deal like that, what do you have in store for him? And I think Washington right now being able to win with Allegretti, I think that they very well may be comfortable with their interior right now. It is a mystery. Don't get me wrong. I'm actually trying to brainstorm like how, because they need to get better interior wise. Like they will struggle with their current setup if they don't get better in the offseason, whether it's through like self-development with the players or finding better talent. I don't know. Nick came over here to start. I don't think that's going to hinder Washington from making a decision if they need to. But, Tyler, Sam, they're locked in. Left guard, I still think is up for grabs. It just puts it muddy things up if you can, like, if you want to put, because, like, and they're very convinced that Brandon Coleman is a left tackle. Like, that's how they evaluated him. So who knows, man? Appreciate you, big dog. What's up? What's up, Bips? Good morning. That's my thing, bro. This my everyday hoodie. This my in the crib hoodie. I wash it, for those who wonder. But I wear this every day, and it goes in the wash when it's time to get washed. Nobody asked, but I felt like I had to say that. So this is where you would draft somebody, though. And that's kind of where who would play left tackle. I think that's where you would draft somebody, or you would find somebody in free agency. But odds are, honestly though, they may end up, if you do move Brandon inside, you probably do see who's out there on the market. But that's a lot of money, and I don't think you want to risk that. But again, like I said, they evaluated him as a left tackle. They drafted him as a left tackle. They confirmed after the draft that he is their left tackle. It's weird with Coleman because this thing coming in was he's a good pass blocker, not a good run blocker, and it's totally flipped in the NFL. Yeah. Well, one thing for sure, his footwork, he has good feet. He's athletic. He is able to make some moves in space that are impressive. But yes, technically, from a technical standpoint, his footwork and his hands aren't married together in the pass game. It's a little weird, but you gotta, sometimes you hit that wall, or you gotta make a transition, and these are the things that you gotta work on. Milton, what's up, man? Good morning. Allegretti would be a superb depth guard, and that's why the Chiefs had him. I'm with you, bro. He would be superb depth, but like, and that's where I come in. It's like, you're getting good money. I don't think he'll complain if they try to find a replacement, like, or find better. But like, he came in to stop. I know he did. He know he did. But like, that interior, bro, like, if you go into another season and people know that you can, if their trenches are like, they strong, if they strong, they're gonna have their way against Washington from the interior standpoint. That's my fear, bro. And you can't ever let a quarterback face interior pressure. Even you can't even get a run game started if your interior getting their ass whooped. Picking up Higgins in the offseason. I want to address the online more. I won't address the online more. I'm all for Higgins. And matter of fact, honestly, bro, let's go ahead and start kind of diving into the position group or position grades. Let's start with the wide receiver. Since we're talking about T. Higgins, let's leave that up on the board with Bips. And let me bring up so I can make sure I'm straight. Hold on, bringing up some things. Okay. All right. So Jay Tizzy been around, and he knows how I feel about wide receiver. Ben's been around. Mike, I'm not sure if you was in the podcast when we went over it, but some of us have went through our wide receiver group grades middle of the season. Before the season, I said C+ is the grade that they were at. I felt like when people look at the Washington Commanders offense and they look at receivers, right? A lot of people said that there is no way anybody can give anything higher than a D for the group. But you got to understand. You got to understand a few things. Do you know how terrible of a unit Washington has to have in order for a group to be terrible? I mean, for a group to have like a D grade, like D grade means that 90% of these guys are unplayable, right? One of the biggest examples I used, if you want to compare, the Kansas City Chiefs. Go back to like 2014, 2015. When Dwayne Bowe was their or Jeremy Maclin was their number one wide receiver. Go look up who was after him. Look at the seasons where they did have Dwayne Bowe. Who was after him? I have other examples. I have to look up the tweet because I did my research like a long time ago, but I don't remember all the teams that I looked up. I mean, I know off the top of my head, but I had to reconfirm. I got that encyclopedia right here. But I say that to say, do you know how terrible of a wide receiver group you have to have in order to have a D grade? Bro, you had Bieniemy Brown and Olamide Zaccheaus, Luke McCaffrey, and then you picked up Noah Brown at the time that I said it. All of these guys are number 3 receivers, like 3 receivers, right? Except for Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin is a 1. Might be a 1B, but he's a 1. All of these guys are depth players, but they are capable of winning in their own way. Noah Brown knows how to win. Olamide knows how to win, right? And Bieniemy Brown is finding, as the season went along, we've come to find out like how he's being used in this offense and how effective he is in his role. That's not a D or a F grade. I think that this is a C. I said C plus, or you can even say C. I said it before the season, and I said it a few weeks ago that this is a C unit. And I'm cool with that. I understand that. And I think this is a team, if you can upgrade like a T. Higgins, right? You're talking about and I also don't think it will stop at T. Higgins. I think if you keep Zaccheaus on board or Bieniemy on board, who was in his last year, right? Zaccheaus, I think, signed a 1-year deal. If you keep them on board, you'll still probably be trying to find some help of a team or of a player who needs to fill in like that true role, whether it's like a slot or a Z or X, like a backup reserve role. But somebody who could come along in this offense. So that would be via draft. They're going to draft a guy. They need help. Like, you can't just win with Terry, and you can't just win with T. You're going to need some more help, or you're going to have to hope that Luke McCaffrey comes up. Now, Luke has had a solid rookie season from like a film standpoint. If you watch his film, you know that he's winning. He's understanding how to win routes, and he understands like the leverage and stuff like that, and he has solid hands. So I think they'll rely on him more in year 2. But you also, like I said, you're going to need some help. Like I said, I think it's a C+. My grade hasn't changed. This is one position group that has not wavered for me in any way from the beginning of the season, before the season, or at this point of the year. That's where I think they're at. I think the D's and the F's were greatly over exaggerated because I don't think people understood like what terrible looked like. I'm all in on taking T. Higgins or taking a stab at T. Higgins in the offseason. I think that he is going to be a perfect fit for Washington in the sense that, well, first off, let's address like an elephant in the room. T. Higgins is a person who is in the last year of his deal. He's a franchise receiver. However, T. Higgins is not looking good from an injury standpoint. T. Higgins has this year alone got some nagging injuries, right? I'm gonna tell y'all about. Matter of fact, let me share my screen. Let me share my screen so you all can kind of get hip. So, like, for those who do know me, and my background to some extent, right? I do scouting. I scout for a company, and one of the best resources that you can look up is this one right here. When you want to get an understanding of somebody, and you want to get an understanding of who they are, from not even from a film standpoint right now, right? Because you're doing your background research. But if you want to understand how often they are on the field or how often they are nicked up, Draft Sharks. Go to Draft Sharks. Get to know the player that you're interested in. So this is the elephant in the room: his injury history. So am I cool on T. Higgins? I like T. Higgins. And I did say I was all in, but I forgot to bring up the elephant in the room. So this is where I hedge, right? This is important. Understand what this is. Chances of injury in 2024, 89%. There's a chance that he misses at least 2 quarters. Chances of injury per game, 12%. Projected games missed in 2024, 2. Durability, 5. That's the ability to produce despite relatively minor injuries, 5 being most durable. Let's go through our injury history of T. Higgins. There's a long list. I don't know if you all can read this, so I'm gonna zoom in just a little bit more, and hopefully you all can see it. I can't tell on my screen, but I hope y'all can. I'll read it anyway. He got injured, 2 non-NFL injuries, right? He injured his ankle in the Sugar Bowl, lost to Alabama, had a grade 2 ankle sprain, had a grade 1 hamstring pull the following year, where he got a minor hamstring in Clemson's win against Florida State. He was available for the next game. The best thing about this, too, by the way, they tell you how many weeks he missed, if at all. So he didn't miss any time after the ankle sprain against Alabama. He didn't miss any time after he hurt himself against Florida State. In 2020, he got an injury. Suffered a hamstring injury in the 4th quarter against the Dolphins. He was active for next week. Got another grade 2 hamstring just a less than a month later. Suffered a left hamstring injury in the 1st quarter against week 17. He was ruled out for the remainder of the game. 2021, hurt his shoulder. He missed 2 games. A few months later, same season, ankle sprain. Got hurt against the Chargers. Got a concussion the following season. He got hurt in week 2. He was cleared ahead of week 2. A couple weeks later, ankle sprain. He played 10 snaps that game. A couple months later, hamstring pull. He was downgraded. He aggravated the injury in week 14 and then returned in week 15. He aggravated the injury in week 14 warm-ups. He missed time. Then he returned for week 15. Then he had a chest fracture last year. He missed 1 game, returning in week 6. A couple months later, hamstring injury. He missed the following game. This year, 2024, remember that predictor, 89% chance, 12% chance of injury per game. He's projected to miss 2 games. And what happened? Thigh, he had a hamstring strain. He suffered a hamstring at practice, missed weeks 1 and 2. Then a month later, he suffered a quad strain during practice and missed the Week 8 Eagles game. That's your background, your injury background on T. Higgins. When you look at certain players, you got to understand they have an injury history behind them. T. Higgins is one of those guys. So let me ask you all, after you didn't see that, if you didn't know his injury history, do you want T. Higgins? Like I said, I'm okay. I was all in before I forgot to bring it up. But the man misses time. And are you okay with that? If you okay with that, good for you. If you aren't okay with that, like Jay Tizzy said, he'd rather draft a receiver over Higgins. And also, there's a trend. Yes, they're lower body injuries. He had a shoulder and then a chest one. That was the anomaly and a concussion. Everything else, lower body, hamstrings. So keep that in mind when you think about a T. Higgins. A good player, but he got to stay healthy, bro. He got to stay healthy. Let me scroll back up, make sure. Let's go through offensive line. Tyler Biadasz, I agree. Low-key MVP. I like Tyler. Tyler has changed the tone. He dominated against the Tennessee Titans. That was a lovely game to watch. We did a film session, by the way, for those who are interested. We did a film session on the last morning show, so you can go there, catch the replay of the film session. Went through the offense. Pretty good moments. Tyler Biadasz dominates. I think that from a center standpoint, you're set. And we kind of went through it already when we talked about left guard and left tackle and Brandon Coleman. So we don't have to go too far deep into rehashing that. We know where our questions exist. It is at left tackle. It is at left guard. However, it is at right tackle as well. However, we know that Brandon Coleman has earned another opportunity. He is progressing, right? He is developing. That's really good. So when we say question, it's we're talking about long term. Brandon Coleman has earned another year. We ain't got to worry about that. So right tackle and left tackle, you don't have to worry about this year. I think that they're solid. I think that they have a good plan. The coaches do, and from a schematic standpoint, to protect these guys. You don't have to worry too much about that. So that's pretty good. I'm gonna give this unit a B minus. I'm gonna give this unit a B minus, and I think for Washington to have that after last year, it was downright awful. Is an upgrade. And honestly, I may be even doing them a disservice. Like, if I want to be real, I may just give them like a solid B, because like the way they are executing the run game, like you can't take that away. That's their biggest strength. It's how they win in the run game. So I'm gonna say a solid B for the offensive line. Tight ends. Oh boy. He said, man, if you squint hard enough, you can see Trent. Ooh, Trent who? Trent who? I'm squinting, man. I'm squinting, bro. Who we talking about? Oh, Trent. Maybe. Okay. Where we at? Tight ends. You got Ben Sinnott, Zach Ertz, John Bates. I think we're at like a C plus. Zach Ertz is your receiver out of the group, right? Your pass catcher out of the group. He's 34 on a 1-year deal. Then you got Ben Sinnott and John Bates. John Bates is having some moments as a pass catcher, but he's like their hands in the dirt. We need you to get the dirty work done. Same thing with Ben Sinnott. Both of those guys, same role. Zach Ertz is the pass catcher. He's the route runner. Structurally, I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. But I say that to say, and why I brought it up, is they gonna need somebody like that's a low-key significant offseason need. Because I don't know how many years Zach Ertz got left in him. And I think Zach Ertz this year, so I want to make sure that we actually merge this year as opposed to like talking about future needs. I think that Zach Ertz has been a staple for this for Jaden Daniels, excuse me. And for this offense, I think that Zach Ertz has been rejuvenated after a last season in Arizona and several other places he went via practice squad or whatever. He for him to be able to run the routes that he has, but has like some juice behind him, right? Making plays at the age that he is. And I say making the plays at the age that he is because last year, if you saw him on tape, he ain't looked too good. He was also coming off a knee injury. So I think having that juice that he has this year is impressive. He's been able to be that safety valve for Jaden Daniels because like he's the ultra smartest receiver that you can have at tight end, route runner. Like he understands the coverages. He's been able to like. There's some times where like he will probably even surprise Jaden in terms of like where he flashes open in his route phase. And when I say surprise, I mean like Jaden doesn't even like he's not even ready to throw the football. And so he misses the window. So Zach, in that aspect for Washington this year has been great. He is their lone receiving threat from that position. A lot of people would suggest that Ben Sinnott needs to get more time as a pass catcher, and maybe that's true, right? But the role that he's playing right now, I think, is perfectly fine. It's worked to this point. People were talking about Yak, but I would say this. In order to like get the ball in your hands, if you're gonna run a downfield route or something like that, you got to be able to like be crispy in your route running, like be able to break down the coverage and like from a sense of being able to know when you're open. And I think that's kind of not to say Ben Sinnott's flaw, but I wonder if that's something where it's like we need to make sure that you get there. Like from a coaching standpoint, teaching standpoint, we need to make sure that you get there. But right now, I want you to run block. I want you to pass block. I want you to run the flats. They did try against the Tennessee Titans to slip them up on the wheel, but they covered it. The Titans did. So I think that's one thing you got to think about with this tight end position is the way things are going right now is really good. If Zach Ertz gets hurt for some reason, let's knock on wood. You gotta hope that one of these guys steps up, like in a big way, because Ertz being lost for this offense is not something that we will want for a playoff push. This is my opinion. You gotta have, especially when you lack the weaponry that you would hope a Super Bowl contending team has. You can't afford to lose your top guys. That's just the unfortunate truth. So you gotta hope that Zach Ertz stays healthy and he's on the field. Position group grade: tight ends C plus or C. What did I say? One of them, C or C plus. Whatever I said, that's where I'm at. All right, so I'm still catching up on some of the conversation. We can circle back to that, Steven. Let's get through the position group grades, and we will talk about the needs for the draft. Which three should we keep of the three that I mentioned? Olamide, Noah, Bieniemy. Honestly, if you can keep Noah, go for it. I think Noah's the guy that you would like to keep. Bieniemy, you can find a Bieniemy. You can find an Olamide as well. I think you keep Noah. You can find a Noah too. Don't get me wrong. But the Noah that you have on this roster, the way he's physically imposing in the run game, but also puts his body on the line to make some tough catches, you keep Noah. The best thing I can say about our wide receiver group is that they run block well, except Terry. C+ because of Terry. I think that's fair. We just need a real fast receiver that gets open. 6 games missed at least for Higgins, right? Yeah. We need to get Terry out of the X position. He's a Z. For real, though, we need to give Terry more volume this season. If we find a legit receiver, too, this offseason, we can start spreading the ball a lot more. I'm not hyped for T. He said, oh, yeah, that's the question. Would you have T after the injury, after that injury history? I'm not paying T $28 million to miss per game. We already got Lattimore as an injury. Hey, that's crazy, bro. Yeah, I mean, technically, matter of fact, do we want to look? No, we'll do that later. We'll look at Marshawn Lattimore's injury history. Hands change made a switch change. Don't get better. O-line is an A-. Okay. B- is harsh. I know we do the chip hill, but still they perform way better than expectations. Now the question is that, and that's a. So I think that's a. I'm not going to like spend time on this out too, but I think the question to ask is if you think that they perform way better than expected, does that mean that they deserve to be their grade needs to be inflated? Not to say that you're inflating their grade, but I'm asking you the question: is their grade inflated because you think that they're performing way better than expected, or are they truly an A to you or A- to you? I think that's something to think about. Okay, Jay Tizzy, O-line grade is a B. I think I did change mine to B, right? I said B- at first, and I just said a solid B. Tight end is C+. You like the tight end mix? I'm cool with it. Ertz carrying and he old and mid. That's a fact, though. If we replace with Ertz with like a Tyler Warren and keep the rest of our guys who are golden, I like Bates, but we need a top tight end to take that crew up a notch. He is the flex based on why Senna's the H. Yes. I'm hoping Ertz can do for Senate what he did for McBride and Goddard. Ertz is always open like a $2. Ooh. He just can't do anything after the catch. If Ertz gets hurt, they slide Noah Brown inside as that flex. I mean, maybe, but that is what Noah Brown is like. Noah Brown can definitely play behind, detached from that line of scrimmage behind the line, as that H guy. So I don't think that's necessarily I don't think that's implausible. Noah had a lot. He did that a lot with Dallas. Texans changed his role. He didn't do that much at all in Houston, but Dallas definitely used him in that fashion. Or they bring up what's that dude name with that crazy last name? Yankoff. I bring up Yankoff. I doubt it. No one's our clear number 2. That's also a good point though. So I was like, they may bring up Yankoff, bro, because if Noah, like, you limited on talent, and you got to make sure that your talent stay. Now I think you spelled his name wrong on purpose. I think you know how to spell his name. Let me make sure that I'm not spelling his name. Where he at? Hey, bro, he ain't even on the practice squad. Cole Turner on the practice squad. Yankoff is on IR. So they'll bring up, hey, my boy Cole Turner. They bring up my boy Cole Turner. Hey, y'all know what Cole Turner can do. That's why he's still on the team. Y'all know. Y'all know about your boy Cole Turner. That's why he's still on the team. That's a superstar right there. That's one of Mual's superstars. That one of Mual's superstar right there. Yeah. Matter of fact, honestly, we good, bro. If Zach Ertz get hurt, we got Cole. I'm not even tripping for real. I'm not tripping. Cole Turner going to get the job done. Where we at? Yeah. That man Jay Tizzy ain't want to spell it. He said, I'm gonna give him a nickname. Hey, stop hating on my man, bro. Honestly, when we gonna use Ben? I mean, we gonna use him. We using him right now. That's what Washington's doing. I ain't gonna lie to you. I think people are expecting Ben to be going have like these highlight reel plays where he looking like Gronk or Mike Allstock with the ball in his hands, but and I don't think that he's incapable of making plays, right? But I think that you got to understand the role that he's in. And sometimes your role is what your role is until you ask to do more. I mean, I really ain't got no other way to put at it. I don't think he's bad. I did kind of insinuate that, and if I didn't mean to, but I want to emphasize, like, there's people on this team who's better at it than him. Like, he's not like the best route runner, and I think he has like some good initial quickness, but like his foot speed, I don't think he's a threat with his foot speed. Which is why I also think he's relegated to like the line of scrimmage often, like in that first level. That's kind of what I think, like with Ben Sinnott. Hey, I'm still there, bro. Yeah, I'm still there. Like I said, we don't need. Look, if Zach Ertz go down, bro, we got Cole. That's a superstar. With Ben, you have to think of a tight end as a growth position where on year one, his ability to block is the first step. What's being focused to do? I'm with you. That JD TD run was supposed to be an RPO flat pass minute, but they covered it. They're trying to get him involved. And then, oh yeah. He said he moved on. Sucks for you. All right, quarterback. We don't have to spend too much time on quarterback. Quarterback is an A, solid A. I'm only evaluating the starter, but you do got to consider the backup and Marcus Mariota. Marcus Mariota did come in against the Carolina Panthers. However, when he came against the Carolina Panthers, he cooked. A lot of people ain't giving no chances after like his first 3 throws, but then he cut it on. He shut everybody the F up. I think that Washington is in a good position. The way they've come along, Jaden Daniels have been able to really threaten defenses and find a way to change how they defend him. And I think that's something that's an indication that defenses are respecting Jaden and his ability to threaten with his legs, but also with his arm, but also with in between the ears. So I think for Washington, they're in a good position. They have been in a good position this year. The grade for the quarterback position is an A. No questions about that. And shout out to Jaden, who has won another Rookie of the Week award. Which one is it? Let me go back to. Okay, my dog is up. What's up, Dakota? Where is it at? He has won. How many games? How many times? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is 8th. Oh, all right, I got you. Yeah, this is 8th. 8th time. So shout out to Jaden, who has won another. There's also a milestone. He's tied for the fastest player to reach 2,500 passing yards and 500 rushing yards He's tied with Cam Newton and RG3. Tied with Cam and RG3. RG3 is gonna be in town in a couple days too. Somebody asked me to cover the event that he's gonna be at, so I may end up interviewing RG again, because we had him on the podcast already. But I don't know if I'll be able to do it because it's during work hours, so that'll be a little wild, right? To cover the event while I'm technically working, and it's on a day, where it's a team meeting going on. Hell no. Unfortunately, I don't think I can do that. But that would have been cool. To link up with Rob. Despite the opinions that may exist surrounding him. There was a thought that I had on the quarterback position, bro, and I completely forgot it. I know it's gonna pop up later in the show, but I completely forgot where I was with the quarterback position. I know my grade's an A, but it was a comment that I was thinking of. Maybe it's in my bookmarks. Yep, I forgot it. That sucks. Okay. A- for quarterback. I think we're honestly ahead of schedule with our new ownership, found our QB, our coach. Playoff win would be lit, but I'd be happy just to be there. That's all facts, bro. We are ahead of schedule. It gives you room for error, but at the same time, it doesn't. Because if you see how this fan base operated when Cliff Kingsbury and that Washington Commanders offense was on a slump, boy, the propaganda that came out on Cliff Kingsbury after just a couple of losses, bro, it was nasty. It was nasty. Think about it. So I'm with you 100%, Trap. I'm with you. I'm just saying, like, this fan base is different, bro. They don't want any signs of struggle. They only want ascension. But you got room. You created created like a room for some error because the way they've been ascending. So yeah. Damn, I'm so mad. I forgot what I was going to say about. That sucks. I love Cole. He's never seemed to elevate. First off, he's a superstar, Mike. Cole is a superstar. So we're not going to talk about him in past tense. Staying it. 8 of them. Yep. All right. So I wasn't tripping. People have to remember the Cooley arc as a tight end. He was an H-back. It wasn't until Sanders. And after that, he really started running routes. Under Gibbs, it was a lot of block and release leaks. Okay. Next one, ties Burrow. Big Ben won the most. Yep. RG, keep him in an elite money mall. First off, you're wild because you talking about who I am. I'm from PG County, Maryland. That ought to tell you my taste. PG County / on the border of North Capitol Street. That's where I went back and forth. He dabbles in the snow bunnies. I like my chocolate. No offense, like no judgment or nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. I'm from PG County, bro. All right. Where we at? We did quarterback, we did offensive line, we did receiver, we did tight end. Let's do our running backs. Running backs, man. Well, guess what, Jay Tizzy? Luckily, I can't be there. I honestly would love to go to cover the event. I'd love to go. And maybe something changes between now and then. I'm popping up. Who knows? Who knows, brother, man? Running backs. It's so Eckler and B Rob, that combination has been amazing. It's unfortunate that Eckler is on IR. He actually spoke with Grant. Let me see if I can find the conversation. See if I can find the conversation. Okay, what's today? The 6th. He said that he revealed memory loss after that frightening concussion, which is actually crazy. I'm looking for Grant Paulson made a tweet. Okay, so I can't find it. Let me see if I can find it on Grant page. Because he had an interview. He comes on 1067 The Fan for interviews, and he had a discussion with him. So, and he said something that was pretty interesting. If I can't find it, I'll let it go. Oh, all right, here we go. Found it. So they asked him if on whether he will play again this season. He said it's week to week. I want to continue to learn more. It's my second concussion in 9 weeks. Am I more susceptible to a third now that I've had 2 and the severity of mine? That's a question he asked himself. He said it's a learning process for me because I've never had anything this bad and twice in the same year. So, what's up, girl? So that is the situation that he's going through right now, right? He hasn't had anything this significant twice in the same season in terms of concussion sustained. So that's one of the reasons why he's obviously put on IR. You can hear it in that response. But then you think about the role that he had offensively for Washington, right? That's the personal side. On the field side, let's talk about where they were up until this point. I give the running back room a B+. What Eckler was able to do for this offense in terms of how he was able to be a move man. He can perform out of the backfield. He can move towards the line of scrimmage and run routes. He can even block and chip the way the offense needed somebody to from that position. Austin Eckler was a dog for this team, and he was explosive. And he also returned punts, but we're talking about running backs, so we're not talking about special teams or anything like that. That's how effective Austin Eckler was for this offense. And then Brian Robinson, you've seen the difference that Brian Robinson made when he wasn't here, right? Like you seen him when he was here, but when he wasn't here, like there was drop-offs. So I think when you understand the roles that they have for this offense and the impact, like Brian Robinson was your person who he'll get you those tough yards, but he also had the vision to where he can get you if a play is blocked up for 4, he'll get you that 4 plus like 2 or 3 more, like just from his physically imposing body, but also like his contact balance and how he can break tackles and things like that, right? Then you think about Jeremy McNichols. Also, by the way, I mean it's McNichols. He ain't no superstar, nothing like that. But I seen how good he was going to be when I went to a training camp practice, and I seen this man make a cut that nobody else at that position group could do. Literally, it was one play. I even wrote it in an article on Hogs Haven. I said, yeah, he made the team off of one cut. People was talking about Jared Wiley, and Jared Wiley had a good offseason and training camp and all that stuff, right? But he ain't make no cut like Jeremy McNichols made. But I say that to say, I think that this group has been a solid B. I think the way that they've been able to utilize these running backs and have their roles, but also like have them shine in their roles have been really good. And the emergence of Jerry McNichols have been good. Chris Rodriguez has come on in his 2 games that he's been asked to, be a part of. He's shown out, right? He's shown like some small little areas where he can burst, uh, you know, through gaps. He's shown his physical toughness, but he's reading some of these like first level lanes really good, which is important. What hurts Washington moving forward is Austin Eckler's injury, because there wasn't nobody who can do outside of Austin. There was nobody who can do what Austin does out of the backfield. So it limits your versatility from who's going to run certain routes, or how do you get a mismatch from a linebacker standpoint. I'm not saying that you can't do it. It just makes things more challenging. You're going to have to use different pieces to get those mismatches on safeties or linebackers, right? Because Austin can do that for you. So that's one thing I think about. Yeah, there's like B-Rob can catch. He ain't no route runner. Chris Rodriguez, you ain't expecting him to do much as a pass catcher. The same thing with Jeremy McNichols, bro. Jeremy McNichols, he's quick. He got some quickness to him. He got some foot quickness, some agility, but he ain't Eckler. And I was gonna bring up a guy that's on a practice squad, but I ain't gonna do that just to save Jay Tizzy the trouble. You may bring him up in the chat, but I ain't gonna do it. All right. So we did the offense. Let's work our way to the defense. Let's see what we got. Besides the injuries, B+. The standard should be the Lions. Changing from A to a B. I'll stick. It's an A-, but the production of McNichols and C-Rob pushes it to an A for me. Generally, our run game is solid across the board. To me, if B-Rob goes down, again, C-Rob needs to start taking and allow Eckler and McNichols to stay in their roles. That's assuming Eckler comes back. He on IR. That's minimum 4 games. See, I ain't say nothing. You said it. I ain't say nothing. I ain't say a word. You said it. If you want to talk about Kaz, though, we can talk about Kaz because you brought it up. Yeah, I agree, Rich. All of their pass blocking has been good. I feel like they have like some standard of accountability where nobody can really slip, because B-Rob been on it. Same thing with Eckler, and like same thing with McNichols as well, as you mentioned. Okay. Defense. Let's go with defensive line. That's been a B+. I think the surprise. Now, full transparency, I'm going to be putting Frankie Louvu into consideration for D-line and linebacker for my grade. Full transparency. It's a B+. First off, Frankie and his ability to rush the passer and create mismatches from the interior. He's rushing from the interior. He's rushing as an edge guy. Like his ability to put pressure on offenses from because Joe Witt Jr. has like this super plan for him. Micah Parsons-esque playing for him. It's hard to account for him. And when they do, like offenses shift their attention to him. And what does that do? That leaves like some one-on-ones for Deron Payne or Dante Fowler. And Dante Fowler is the other guy that brings this to a B+. Both of these guys, man, you're talking about 9+ sacks for both of them. Double checking, because I know Fowler has 8.5. All right, so it's Frankie. That's what I thought. I thought Frankie had 9. He got 8. But both of them have 8 sacks. Dante with 8.5. And the pressure that they're able to bring constantly, right? I think it's something that you have to be able to understand is the most important thing when we came into this season with what exactly are we going to get from the defensive line in terms of pass rush? Who is it going to come from? Because, we don't have any expectations from any guy. Dorrance Armstrong, Cleveland Farrell, 5.5 sacks combined. Deron Payne has 3. I don't think Deron Payne's. So I think if you're a Deron Payne, you got 4 games left, and you finish the season with like 6 sacks. That's pretty good. Like, we got to understand 11.5 sacks for interior defensive lineman is insane. Only Aaron Donald could do that. But if you finish the season, if you're having like 6 sacks, 7 sacks a year for Deron Payne, now granted, y'all know if you watch this show, if you watch this channel, I got my issues with Deron. So this isn't me saying he's some dog. I'm saying from a production standpoint, as a pass rusher, if you finish the season as an interior defensive lineman with 6 or 7 sacks a season, which he has an opportunity to do so, that is good for an interior defensive lineman, because most of your sacks should come from the edge. That's where I'm coming from. So he has 3 so far. That's not bad. That's not great, but it's not bad. So Deron's in good shape from a pass rush statistic standpoint. But this defensive line struggles in the run game, and I think that's what's hard for me to say like it's a straight A. Your interior defensive lineman, Deron Payne, speaking of, John Allen when he was around, and then Johnny Newton, who's coming along. You know, he's had 7 games under his belt, or 7 starts under his belt, but 12 games played. He's young too, but like they're having issues with combination blocks, being able to anchor down and not give up too much ground, right? Like that's one of the bigger things. Like they're actively working on it, and you can see it on tape. Like they actively work on techniques to improve against combination blocks. That and they just have like run blitzes schemed up. And that's also why superstar Big Phil, was one of the best at the point of attack against combo blocks. But they brought another guy in, Jalen Holmes, and Sheldon Day, who I like Sheldon Day. But they're working on answers to beef up the interior and have a better run defense to give their linebackers a chance. But I think that's the one red flag, like the glaring red flag with this team, is like how they can continue getting better in the run and as a run defense. That's one thing that I would say is hurting them from just being an A this year. Again, I'm counting Frankie Louvu as a linebacker and as an edge defender, or as a defensive lineman in my grades. So for the defensive lineman, with Frankie Louvu included, it's a B+. But I think it's hard to give them an A when they aren't good yet against the run. They're okay. They're not good. Where we at? Just on the string. Higgins injury is definitely a concern. No problem, big dog. D-line is a B+. If Payne can hold his sacks, he's an A. D-line is a B- because of the run stopping. I think that's fair too. Have to see what his ass of Payne. If Deron could tackle, he'd be elite. Yo, that is one of the more frustrating things. I didn't even mention that part. Like, people don't understand how many times Deron has been in the backfield and not made the play. Like running backs are running past him. He's whiffing on tackle for losses. Mind you, by the way, let me make sure that we understand how important that is, right? Comparatively speaking, Dante Fowler and Frankie Louvu have combined for 20 TFLs. They are in the backfield, bro. Deron Payne has 3. Frankie Louvu and Dante Fowler are the top 2 on the defense in TFLs, with 11 for Dante and Frankie for 9. And Bobby, as a linebacker, as a pure linebacker, has 7. Deron has 3. People just don't understand like how he gets in the backfield. He doesn't finish plays. Like, that is very frustrating to watch. If you pay attention to that moment, those particular moments, you know that he gets in the backfield. It's even worse because if you can't make the plays, bro, like That's hard. That's a hard case to have when you are getting paid what you're getting paid and you can't finish. They get killed on zone blocks. Yes, man. First of all, watch your mouth. He don't get roll graded. What is wrong with you? No, what really hurts them is those trap blocks. That's what really got them early in the season. They over pursue. They don't recognize those trappers or the those guards that's coming to trap them. Like Duran and John got caught with that really often early on. Even Johnny too. But those trap blocks and the trap scheme offenses really got them in trouble. So imagine when you play a team like Detroit who runs that shit a lot. All right, so B+ for the defensive line linebackers. That's an A. Again, Frankie is in my linebacker group too. So Frankie and Bobby is really it. They list Dante Fowler as a linebacker, and technically he does have some 2-point stances. But at the same time, Frankie and Bobby are the two guys. That's been nothing short of an A. The way they've been able to take on blocks, the way they've been able to like kamikaze themselves. Like Frankie Lou was a missile, blowing up plays, bro, and reading keys, and his quickness from being able to read and react, bro, is outstanding. It sucks from this standpoint that he's 28. He's still young, don't get me wrong, like in real time, but 28 goes by fast. 28, he'll be 30 next time you close your eyes. So I wish that we had him at like 26 so we can have him for like 4 or 5 years. But you got to take advantage of a Frankie Louvu the way he's playing right now. Find a way to keep him involved in making plays across the board. I think that his coverage has been a surprise, like in a good way. Like there was a conversation coming out of Carolina that he can't cover too good. Could have fooled me. Like he's reading patterns pretty well. I think that's impressive. But also, like we showed the TFLs already, right? That he's making in the backfield. Like the way that he's being able to dominate and take over in the trenches is quite impressive. Bobby Wagner, we know what he can do. He sets the tone. One of the things that he did against Chicago was one of the more impressive things this season. If you all remember, he was seeing everything that Caleb Williams was adjusting to at the line of scrimmage, and he was getting the defense in the right position to do things, right? That's what Bobby does. Hey. Cornerbacks. Yeah, man. Louvu's 28. Cornerbacks. Now, again, like how I included Frankie Louvu in linebacker and how I included Louvu as a defensive lineman as well, I cannot include Marshawn Lattimore in this because he hasn't played with Washington yet. Cornerbacks, I'm giving a C-. I think, so put it this way. I think that Sanders still, and I think that I sliced it. I give him a solid C. Because I think that Noah has played well for the role that he's been asked to play. I think that clearly Sanders, excuse me. I think that Noah Igbenogany has stepped up. He's a former first-round pick. So he had the talent, but he's finding himself here in this defense. And I think Ben St. Juste, he plays well until the ball is thrown to him. If that makes sense. He can cover. He just can't cover when the ball is thrown to him. That's it. And it may sound like I'm making fun of him, bruh, but I'm being dead ass serious. If you really pay attention to Ben, he has a lot of plays that he plays good. what happens? The issue is what happens when the ball is thrown to him and he gets put in a situation where he has to defend the ball and defend the receiver, right? That's where I'm like, all right, well, now we're in a predicament. That's it. So I give it like a solid C. But when the ball is thrown to Ben, I get his unit like a D minus. That's it, man. But nah, bro. Like I think that this unit that's an interesting maybe, bro. Because we know what happened to that man who was here. They got cooked on Monday night after Josh Norman got signed to Washington, and he thought that he was going to be the number one. But then they said, "Nah, we want Josh, and now you the number two still, or you the number two when you used to be the number one before Josh Norman got here." You know, I'm talking about Brashad Breeland. I think AJ said it on this show, bro. After he got cooked against Antonio Brown, it'd be months later they'd be in the club and he still talk about that moment on Monday night. He say, "Bro, I can't believe I got cooked like that." Like you talking about it months later, you in the club, bro, turning up, and you still think about that Monday night game, bro. Some people just can't get right. And he wasn't right since in Washington. He looked okay in Kansas City. That's why Kansas City fans loved him. He looked good there. And he got himself a Super Bowl ring. But here in Washington, he was never the same. And I think that's an performance anxiety issue. Like his head was messed up. And Ben may be dealing with that. But from a coverage standpoint, he all right. He just got to get. Honestly, his time's running out. Put it that way. He in year 4. So like he got 4 more games left minimum. 5 games left minimum because we making the playoffs. To get that extension. Otherwise, go somewhere else, get a fresh start, just like Emmanuel Forbes, that 130-pound cornerback. Hope he get a better start. That's it. Better start somewhere else. I'm gonna say C. Average, and then we'll see what happens when we get Marshawn back. C minus. Al2 said B. Hey, nah, bro. What about what's dude from Temple that came back from IR? I was actually thinking about that. Jordan McGee. Like, I wonder what their plan is, like with Louvu and Jordan McGee. Like, maybe that is the duo moving forward, as in like next year. When Bobby moves on, if he moves on. I would like to imagine that Jordan is going to be taking over in some capacity. Not to say that he's going to be Bobby Wagner, like from a play calling, green dot, whatever standpoint. I'm just saying, like, I think that they had a lot of plans for Jordan. And maybe as the time moves on this season, 4 games left, Jordan keeps finding himself on the field defensively. I don't know. I'm spitballing here. But that's what I was thinking when I was doing that. All right, C minus. C minus is harsh. Our pass defense hasn't been that bad. But here's the deal, Al2. You want to know why our pass defense hasn't been that bad? It's for several reasons. But a lot ain't to do with the cornerbacks. It's the safeties. The safeties are an A minus. I'm dead serious. When you have safeties who can cover the way that they can, Jeremy Chin, all over the box. He can play some posts from time to time, but he's all over the box. He can play in the middle of the field, right? His coverage ability this year has been solid, right? I like that. But the way he's been able to physically defend in the box, come downhill, crash, hit hard, right? And then you have Quan Martin, who has played the post role excellently. I don't know if that's the word. The way he's been able to do things like that, bro, you can't take that away from him. He's been able to cover. He's helping out a lot of the cornerbacks. Like their communication has been on point. The way he's been able to fill run lanes coming down from the third level, or coming down from the third level. Like he has been impressive. And the help that he gives is impressive. Percy Butler, when he comes in and they have those 3 safety roles, right? And Percy Butler is now playing like that robber role in the middle of the field. And you can play true 2 highs in your combination, or excuse me, in your disguise coverages. Like, out too. That's what I'm saying. Like, the defense hasn't been that bad in terms of pass defense. The pass defense, I think, has been pretty good, but it's the safety play that makes it stand out. Those guys have been killing it for this defense. And I say A- for the safeties. That's what makes the difference. And on top of that, the pass rush is coming live. That makes it harder for quarterbacks to sit back there forever and make a decision. The only way they win is if they get the ball out quick. So that's where I'm at. Lattimore, Mike S. Noah I. We need more help next year. That's for sure. You do need a cornerback. Beers is this kind of guy you got to throw at 0 ball awareness. Corners have this team 8-5. Says B-. BSJ probably doesn't come back. Mike and Noah have settled. Once he has to locate the ball, he's cooked. Their tech is getting technique. Yeah, AB did. Forwards versus AJ Brown. Yep. He said D- is kind. I wish we had called up that Craig dude that got snatched off P Squad. I hate seeing BSA try to track the ball. Bobby's foot speed is lacking. That's true. I'm a big Quan Martin fan, don't get me wrong. Chin's coverage is 1 step off. Quan is one of my favorite players. Quan runs like Ed Reed, he does. I feel like we're beating up on the cornerbacks because of BSJ liability. Noah I and Mikey have both stood up well. I mean, that's why I said C. Think about it. I mean, I think what would constitute an A or anything above like a B is turning the football over too. They don't do that. I'm talking about interceptions. Like, they don't pick the ball off. They don't force turnovers. You got to be able to turn the ball over too. You don't have to do it like every single week, but you got to be a threat to do it. Nobody in that secondary is a threat to do that. That's just the reality of it, bro. So like they're solid and having solid coverage. It's nothing wrong with that. It's got to be better in order to have a better grade, bro. So that's kind of where my thought process lies with these guys. And nobody on this defense gets INTs. Yep. Hey, the team leader. Excuse me. Let me rephrase that. Emmanuel Forbes is tied with the lead on this team in interceptions. That ought to tell you where they at. They're tied with 1. I didn't know how many Emmanuel Forbes had. They have 1. 1. All right. So let's close this out with, again, if you are just checking in, appreciate you checking in. Good morning. Welcome to the weekend. Let's close this out with Eric Bieniemy and like just a couple of our favorite games over this weekend. In terms of gambling, by the way, we're talking about gambling, so we're talking about picks. Not going to dwell too much on that, but Eric Bieniemy, bro, he got fired again. This is a statement from his agent. Statement from Eric Bieniemy agent, Jason Fletcher. Not even on all these tip passes. Our D-line does. All right, here we go. Eric and UCLA mutually parted ways today as previously planned. He's still getting paid by the Commanders. After interviewing for head coaching jobs last year, he wanted to stay active and busy, so he decided to go help out Deshaun Foster, who was like his little brother at UCLA, as opposed to sitting out a year. The plan was always to return to the NFL in 2025, and he's looking forward to the opportunities ahead. That's per Adam Schefter. Now, correct me if I'm being harsh here on Eric Bieniemy, but that surely sounds very familiar to what happened last year in Washington, where the language was they mutually parted ways. He wasn't fired in Washington. That's what he was very adamant about. He wasn't fired in Washington. Well, he wasn't fired in UCLA again. That's what he's saying. I think Eric Bieniemy, bro, I do truly wish him the best. I don't know him. And I'm a person, I'm generally a person who takes people at their word until their word shows me I cannot trust them. I'm assuming until their actions or other things shows me that I cannot trust them at all moving forward. I think that Eric Bieniemy, bro, has not reached that point with me yet. But I also feel like Eric Bieniemy, in the language in which he uses, but also the way that he conducts himself in interviews, like the ones that are on video, are kind of smug in a sense. I think that's the right use of the word. It's like, bro, y'all don't know what y'all talking about. Y'all are a joke to me. I wasn't fired. Good luck with that narrative. I don't care what you all have to say. I'm going to keep doing my job. I really don't have to tell y'all shit. But I'm here anyway. That's what that stuff be looking like to me when Eric Bieniemy talks, bro. And that for him to set the plan to come back to the NFL in 2025, that sets no excuses out for his representation. That sets no excuses out for him. If he doesn't get the job that he wants in 2025, we'll know. He wanted a head coaching opportunity, or he wanted a OC opportunity where he had that full control, right? It wasn't just him attached to Andy Reid. He got that in Washington, and he got a promotion in terms of his title as associate head coach. His job title and his role in 2025, if he gets a job in the NFL, will show us if he took a step down, bro. Because we know what his intentions were when he came to Washington and afterwards. He interviewed for head coaching jobs. Interviewed. So they say. I'd never forget, bro, people here in Washington after that interview, the entrance in the interview to the media, had people so geeked up about what we were getting in Bieniemy. And I think it was all off of that smell, that Kansas City smell. Like, this is a guy who just came off of 3 Super Bowl wins. Or 2 Super Bowl wins, excuse me, with Kansas City. And we getting that in Washington. And he sounds stern. And he sounds like he don't take no bullshit. But he throwing it 90 times a game and running it 1 time a quarter. Like, that was his quota. He said, hey, man, did we run the ball yet? Yeah, coach, we ran it 3 times this quarter. We need to run it like 10 more times. Now, I think 3 is enough. I just had to make sure that B-Rob got his little touches. Them little touches. He didn't care about the run game, bro. He was not a balanced offensive coach. And you see what balance does for a team. You're witnessing it in Washington with a run-first team. It's a run first team. Don't make no mistake about it. You've seen the difference. So keep that in mind. Best of luck with Eric Bieniemy, in my opinion. But for me, best of luck to Eric Bieniemy. In my opinion, I don't think they didn't mutually part ways. I think that they were in a situation where they just want better for that offensive situation in UCLA. And he's just putting it out there through Adam Schefter that he's open for jobs in the NFL in 2025. Straight transfer MB. I wish we got to see more EB's offense under Jacoby with center. Still wasn't running the football. But I do think that, first off, if you saw more of EB's offense with Jacoby under center, you probably won't have Jaden Daniels. I don't think he's getting the OC position anytime soon. Why are people trashing EB? What do you do to Washington fans? I don't think he did anything to Washington fans, honestly. Yeah, I don't think he did anything to Washington fans. I just think he was a terrible OC. And he was ignorant in his stubbornness. EB was a bully, can't bully grown man. I don't think he was a bully. I just said that. I think he was just stubborn, and I think he was ignorant in his stubbornness. Andy Reid has a role for him and always in KC. He may come back. That's true. I like the accountability that he holds players to, but he needs to learn to adjust his styles. If what was being reported last year was true, a lot of people said it. Like in several different ways, people said it on the team. Like, and then if you just rewatch the games and know that he never changed, he never really adopted. He never really adjusted. I didn't hear about the half-backer situation yet. That was something. He didn't listen to his players or coaches. Even Ron suggested, they have some balance, and they never became a balanced football team. Where else we at? Yeah. Needing reps doesn't mean throwing the ball 50 times a game. That is true. Needing reps is just playing like Jaden needs reps. He's getting the reps right now. He ain't throwing it 50 times a game. All right. Let's go ahead and close this out with a couple games that we're looking at. What's some of the games that y'all paying attention to? Where my gamblers at? We're closing it out with some. We're closing out with some games, bro. Matter of fact, let me look at the Action app. I think the Action app is a little bit more. Let's see what we got. Shout out to the push last night. Unless you had 3.5 on the Packers, then you win. But the line was 3 in most places. That was really a hard game to handicap if you were out there trying to figure out the best angle. But if you took the over, you won. It was a game that I was looking at. We was on all 32. Oh, the Chargers. Oh, that's Sunday Night Football too. The Chargers and the Chiefs. The Chargers and the Chiefs, man. Chiefs are 4-point home favorites. Sunday night. I'm a fan of the Chargers defense, bro. But I know there's moments like when you face a team with better quarterbacks, bro, they're gonna get diced up. Now, granted, I know the Chargers had a cornerback who was hurt. I don't know what the status is now, but he is the guy they put alongside Asante Samuel. But he wasn't out there when they played Cincinnati. And I don't think that would have stopped him against Cincinnati. But, I think I say that to say, when you play a quarterback of that caliber and now you play against Patrick Mahomes a couple weeks later, I think this could be a high scoring game. Like the total was 43. I think you're looking at a game where you can see like a 27-20 type of game. Yeah, I have a hard, like right now on this Friday, I have a hard time seeing the Chargers covering that number. +4. Yeah, I have a hard time seeing the Chargers cover that number. Granted, divisionally speaking, Chargers do have their moments where they can compete against the Chiefs, but covering the spread is one thing. Let me see if I can. Do they got their previous matchups head to head? Yeah, here we go. Yeah, Kansas City. Okay, so Kansas City has won 2 out of their last 3 against the number, and they pushed last time 7 points earlier in the season. 17-10. Yeah, this one probably goes over. Y'all still talking about Bieniemy, bro? Nah, JT, I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. I think you tripping, bro. And it's funny. You know what's so funny? I'm glad you said that, bro. I'm glad you talking about coaches and what they say during camps and during their quotes. Because you're using this argument with Bieniemy saying that you didn't listen to him during the offseason or training camp. But when I go through coaches speak on a weekly basis, and I give you my pure thoughts on what they really are trying to say to us, which I stand by. None of what you tell me changes my opinion. You tell me don't listen to coaches. You can't take these coaches for what they say. But we're using that argument right now in the comments about listening to Eric Bieniemy, a coach. You listen to him, but you tell me don't listen to coaches, which I'm going to do. I'm not listening to you when you say that. I'm going to listen to what the coaches say, and I'm going to listen to what they tell the media and how they professionalize their true thoughts on a situation. I just think that's interesting. And if I had to use a more direct word, I just think it's funny. I just think it's funny that it's being used now to defend Eric Bieniemy. But generally speaking, we're not supposed to listen to coaches if you tell us not to listen to coaches when we have a thought about these guys. Yeah, no, I talk about Dan Quinn, I talk about Joe Witt, and I talk about Cliff Kingsbury and everything that they say. I say the same thing with every single coach when we do coaches speak in years past. But if that's how you feel, see, like they're not lying. There's nothing that Dan Quinn has ever said to this point that suggested he lied. That's what I'm getting at. Like they're telling you something and it's telling you their thoughts, but they're not necessarily, they're either sometimes delusional. Well, I'm not even gonna go down that road. Not gonna go down that road. Okay. So those are my thoughts on the Chargers and the Chiefs game, bro. Another game that I was thinking about as well. Oh, that number that shot up for Philly. They were 12.5 point. They were 12.5 point home favorites. Now they 13 against Carolina. I don't think that's gonna be close. I ain't gonna lie to you. Oh, that's where it was. Seattle and Arizona. I scrolled over it like 3 times. Seattle is on the road against Arizona. 7-5 against 6-6. This is an important game for us. Because if Seattle can win out, Who would y'all rather? I mean, it don't even matter. Don't matter right now. We'll have to ask that question in like a couple weeks. Like, who would you rather play? Because things have still not been able to settle down in NFC West or NFC South. But that is going to be an interesting game. Because if Arizona wins, they're 7-6, as well as Seattle. They're both 7-6. Arizona's 2.5-point home favorites. They should have beat Minnesota just last week. I don't know if y'all watched that game. But I think that Arizona do deserve to be favorites. And if you watch the Jets Seahawks game, you'll see by God's grace, Seattle was able to fight their way back into it. They should have been down. Seattle should have been down 20, at least 28-9 or 28-6, whatever that score was before they turned up. They should have been down a lot. And that pick six from Leonard Williams literally sparked them boys and saved them, got them back into the game. Right now, I do lean Arizona. I think Arizona takes that. This is me all off my gut feel, by the way. So understand that part. I do my research closer towards the game time and kickoff, but I feel like Arizona takes that on its surface. Seattle's a good team. They've been playing good ball, but Arizona, I don't understand how they lost against that Vikings team. But for them to come back and be home favorites, honestly, 2.5 at home indicates that they got some respect for Seattle in itself. So we'll see how it unfolds. Right now, I say Arizona. My bad. I ain't mean to bring that up. Y'all can have that discussion. I ain't telling y'all to stop having a discussion, but I'm on to these NFL games. I got you, Mike. Can someone explain the money line and how you bet the -230? What does that mean? All right, let me show you something. This is the last thing we up out of here, bro. I'm gonna show you. I'm not gonna show you all my sources, right? I'm gonna just show you something I'm gonna show you something right here. Well, yeah, that is the simplest thing. I was going to like give you a visual. But Benz is right. Money is just outright picking you to win. So, for example, -230 for yours. In order to win $10, if there's -230, right, on a money line, you will have to bet $23 to win 10. Same thing, like Ben said. If you want to use $100 as an example, you will have to bet $230 to win 100. The negative sign indicates the vig, I think is the word, or like the juice is what I usually just say. It's the juice you have to put down to win an even amount of money. So something that's -500, you have to bet $500 just to win 100. I actually know somebody who does that, who did that when he was gambling. That man would bet a stack, right, on Alabama. Maybe even like 2 stacks on Alabama just to win like $300. And that's crazy, right? But think about it like this. Those $300 bets, they do add up. And when you got because he was in the books pockets, bro. Like he was playing with house money. So he can bet that much because it ain't his bread. Like he came up, and the amount of money that he came up on was ridiculous. But he would bet like that much money to win like 200-300. Again, like that adds up. So if you betting like 12 bands, or like somewhere between like 3 to 7 bands to win like $500-600 on a game, like you still coming up like 2 stacks a weekend. Now that was insane. That was so much liability, but Hey, bro, he did it and it worked out. It worked out. Anything in plus money, Mike, means that you're going to get your profit back plus some. Plus 100 means you're going to get, it's even. It's 1-to-1. 200 is 2-to-1. 3-to-1. Same thing. When you get to like the 10s or like 1,000 plus 1,000 something, that's where the 10s start. 10-to-1, 11-to-1, 12-to-1, and things like that. Yep. Anything that's 110, 120, that's perfect. You want to play that. Anything that's minus 110, minus 120, you can play that. When you start talking about like spreads, like for example, you see instead of the money line that you're talking about, Mike, if you see anything like a spread, for example, the minus 2.5 for the Cardinals game that I was just talking about, minus 2.5, their home favorites against the Seattle Seahawks. The number is 110 for minus 2.5, right? That's a normal number. That's pretty good. But for example, if that minus 2.5 was minus 195, that's terrible. You don't take that. I wouldn't take that. You tell me I got to bet $20 just to win 10. I mean, I know it's like 19 something. I'm saying you basically got to bet close to $20 just to win 10 on minus 2.5, bro. That's terrible. I'm not doing it. That's not worth the juice ain't worth the squeeze there. So essentially, if you didn't catch it at a certain time, you missed a moment. Is it safer to yes, correct. Plus is riskier, minus is safer. Plus just indicates the odds are higher for that bet to hit. Not to say that you can't hit it. It just means that it's riskier because the odds are higher now. Minus means it's more likely of an outcome. Indicates safer. But don't get it confused, because if you do spreads, right? If you do spreads, that underdog that you take, right? If you take Seattle and they're plus 2.5, and you see a minus something on that number, like minus 101, minus 101. That doesn't mean that the spread to take the 2.5 is a safer bet that they'll cover. It just means that it's a valuable bet, right? Because you're not spending a lot. You only have to bet to win $10. You only have to bet $10.01 or $10.10 to get $10 back, as opposed to $10.50 or $10.70 to get $10 back. So just think about it like that. If you parlay things and you get a minus number, it's more likely of an outcome. If you parlay things and get a plus, it's a riskier bet. So just keep things in mind. He said to win, don't bet. Hey, I'm long past that, but you know what's funny enough, and it's the last thing we'll get out of here. Appreciate everybody who tapped into the morning show. Good morning, everybody. Have a safe weekend. Turn up for your boy. I don't know where y'all gonna be, but I'm about to turn up. You know what I'm saying? No football, no Commanders. Kick your feet up, go to a bar, watch the games, decompress, whatever. I tell everybody all the time. I'm long gone, Rich. I tell everybody all the time, bro. The only thing I could tell people who are looking to get into gambling, bro, is don't do it. Save yourself the trouble. I'm in here knee deep. I ain't stopping. But if I never got into it, I'd probably be just fine. We out of here, bro. Y'all take it easy.
Chop it down, chop it down, chop it down, you gon' chop it down. Chop it down, you gon' chop it down. Damn, set,
Appreciate everybody watching.
Watch him throw the ball, we gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through fourth and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Dive.